Heather. Welcome to my Stamps Paper Love scrapbooking channel. I am bringing to you today a process video that I did quite some time ago actually. Right here you see me inking some resist cards. These were an older product from Heidi Swap, so they are kind of clear and glossy, and then when you add the ink on them you see the patterns emerge, and I just think they were very pretty and they worked really well for what I'm doing here. I'm going to be using a page maps sketch that you'll see in a little bit, and it just has a banner across it, or kind of a banner page across it with a bunch of tags and cards and whatnot across kind of the middle of the page. So you can see my background here. I have just used a piece of gorgeous, beautiful, basic gray paper that has a mandala on it, and then I added some ribbon. I kind of folded it over a little bit to give a little texture and dimension, and stitched that on with my sewing machine. And I've added a little chipboard border piece to kind of separate from the bottom of the page and the top of the page. And then I'm going to go ahead and add all of the elements that make up that little strip in the middle. So the resist cards, I just kind of distributed those across the page and added a little bit of extra cards and whatnot to kind of tie in all the purple colors for sure. The paper that's behind the photo to the bottom right it's a paper that I had kind of in my scrap stash. I thought it was mulberry paper, which is that paper that kind of frays on the edge, and I do try to do that to get a little bit of fraying going, but it doesn't really work that way. But it has a lovely floral texture to it, which I just thought added to the page quite nicely. Here I'm adding some ribbon, same ribbon that is stitched across the border, and I just kind of looped it through there and tied a knot, and then I'm trimming it up so that it's going to be nice and compact up at the top of the page, and just add a little bit more texture. And you know, ribbons say little girl. I don't care who you are, ribbons definitely say little girl. And if you want to get a little peek into my strategy for scrapbooking, you can see that bucket to the top right corner is just all full of pretty much anything I could find that I might want to use that was purple. And you have to know that I am not a huge fan of purple. It's definitely not my favorite color. But my daughter, when she was much younger, wore that color quite a bit and liked that color. We had typically, well, I have two daughters, and so typically the older daughter had a lot of pink stuff and the younger daughter had a lot of purple stuff. Probably caused some resentment, because I think the younger daughter likes pink more now than she likes purple, but I guess I'll take that one for the team. This is where I tried to fray that edge of the paper and it just didn't work out. So I just took the scrap and cut a new little background to go behind the photo, and trimmed it down so that it worked nicely with the size of the little wallet photos. The inspiration for making this layout was really because I went through a stray container that had some odds and ends in it, and it happened to have these photos in there, and I just didn't think that I had scrapbooked them yet, so I found that sketch that I thought would work really nicely with it and made it a go. And these are just photos of her when she was about 9 months old. I don't think she was walking yet, but she could definitely stand next to that chair, and then sitting, obviously. So here I am just attaching those photos, and then I'm going to find a few other odds and ends. This tag came in the collection kit with the basic gray paper that I'm using, and they're beautiful, beautiful tags. I end up placing it so that you don't really see that much of it, but it again has that little mandala design, which I think gave it some good repetition on the layout. And yeah, it's super nice. So here's another little tag. I don't think this one ends up making it on the page. I'm going to add this little label bracket thing eventually. I think I stop and do some stamping first before I add that on. But then I have a couple other little snippets of this and that that are going to make it on the page as well. And, or don't, who knows? I mean, it's part of that scrapbooking process. You got all this little things that may or may not make it onto the layout, and you just keep playing with it until you get them where they look good to you, to the eye anyway. The Simply Adorable title is what it ends up being. The title piece is, it's a fabric tag that I had in my stash from, I think, Making Memories or something like that. So it's quite old, along with this basic gray paper and these dimensional butterflies. And these are from Can Company, but they're just really very detailed, beautiful, beautiful butterflies. They have sparkle, they have dimension, they have a lot of pattern on the wings, and just worked really nicely to drive the girliness of this layout home. So I'm going to add those on, and in the next little bit here, you'll see that I stop for a minute. I do some stamping, and I do a lot of stamping that just kind of comes to me as I'm processing what I'm doing. So these little stamped, I think they were little labels that had that brackety edge to them, and so I just cut them down so they could peek back behind the papers and photos and just bring a little bit more pizzazz to the page. And here's the little label bracket thing that I've stamped her name and her age on, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that on. It does have a couple of brads in it, but I think I just attach it with some kind of adhesive to the chipboard border piece that's there. And I think it turns out pretty cute. I was pretty happy with it. I'm going to finish it up by adding on a few more of the butterflies, and they just match really nicely with that paper. As I'm watching, it's like, wow, they just were perfect. And I know I did not get those papers and butterflies at the same time, so it's funny how sometimes your supplies just sit and sit and sit, and then finally you've got the right layout and the right place for everything. Coming up next, I'm going to just stamp a little heart on one of the brackety pieces. That's kind of my signature thing that I do at the end of every layout, is find a spot to stamp just a little teeny tiny heart. And that will pretty much wrap it up for this video. There are some still shots coming up next, and I thank you so much for taking the time to watch. See you next time.